The man who came home smiling. The first thing Father Al noticed was that Thomas remembered too much, not too little, too much. The old miller had returned after 6 months fighting on their eastern trench lines. Leaner than before, but unscarred, carrying the same rusted crucifix his wife had carved for him years earlier. He embraced his children, kissed his wife. He cried when he entered the village chapel. He knew every face, every name, every birthday, every embarrassing childhood story. He even remembered the broken tooth his son had lost after falling from the orchard wall. The villagers celebrated. Father Al did not, because soldiers never returned from the eastern trenches, not alive. The village of Harrow's Rest stood beyond the walls of the sacred city of Bastion, nestled among wheat fields blackened by ash that drifted from the endless war. Its people survived because they obeyed. Every sunrise began with prayer. Every evening ended with confession. Every stranger was questioned. Every corpse was burned. The church had taught them long ago that the enemy did not always come wearing armor. Sometimes it wore skin. Thomas's wife laughed again. The children laughed. Neighbors visited their cottage to hear stories from the front. He told them everything they wanted to hear. He remembered names of commanders. He described trench layouts. He spoke of miracles, described friends who had died. His grief sounded authentic, but it sounded a little too authentic. When he cried, everyone else cried with him. Father Al watched from across the room. Thomas blinked only once during the entire evening. The priest requested confession. Thomas accepted eagerly. Inside the stone booth, he knelt. Father, I have sinned. In what ways? I survived. Father Al waited. Silence. The priest frowned. Nothing else? No. No temptations? No hatred? No doubt? I know precisely how Thomas would answer. The words slipped out naturally. Not, I would answer, or how Thomas would answer. The correction came instantly. I know how I should answer. Father Al's fingers tightened around the scripture. That night, he visited Thomas's home. Everyone slept peacefully, except Thomas. He stood perfectly still in the backyard, facing the wheat, motionless. He wasn't praying, and it didn't seem like he was breathing. He was just watching. The priest called his name, slowly, very slowly. Thomas turned. His smile appeared first, then his eyes, then the rest of his face, like someone remembering the order in which humans moved. The following morning, Father Al requested that the town watch detain him. No one agreed. The man was loved. Children adored him. Old veterans swore he was genuine. his wife struck the priest across the face for suggesting otherwise. The accusation died. The suspicion remained. 3 weeks later, another soldier returned, Edric. He had supposedly fought beside Thomas. He remembered everyone too. The same birthdays, the same stories, and the same songs. He hugged Thomas like a brother. They even finished each other's sentences. Their friendship looked perfect. Too perfect. No disagreements, no interruptions, and no awkward pauses. Like actors who had rehearsed every line. Then came Miriam, then John, then old Marta's grandson. People who should have been dead. People everyone have mourned. Each returned exactly as remembered. Every flaw, every scar, and every habit. Even the smell of pipe smoke. The village rejoiced. Father Al barricaded himself inside the chapel. He wrote a message to Bastien. Send an inquisitor. The dead are walking home. The messenger left before dawn, but he never reached the city. Only his horse returned. Its rider was still mounted, and he was headless. Life became happier than it had ever been. Families reunited. The harvest doubled. Crime disappeared. Arguments ended. Nobody fought anymore. No one shouted. No one stole. Children behaved, and dogs stopped barking. Even the weather seemed kinder. Father Al hated every moment, because evil never made things easier. It made them more comfortable. He broke into Thomas's cellar. Underneath sacks of grain lay a hidden hatch. Below waited a tunnel. It was warm, wet, and something organic. Something was growing. Its walls pulsed like muscle. The deeper he descended, the quieter the world became. Then he heard voices. Hundreds of voices. People laughing, praying, some people arguing, all familiar, all belonging to villagers asleep in their homes. Except the voices came from below. He reached a chamber wider than the chapel itself. Bodies hung from roots, descending from the ceiling. They weren't dead, but they weren't alive either. Their faces stretched into translucent membranes. Their bones bent backwards. Veins disappeared into a black mass embedded in the earth. Every suspended victim twitched occasionally. Their mouths whispered memories. My daughter's first steps. This is the recipe for apple bread. My wedding vows. My mother's lullaby. The darkness drank every word. It was learning, remembering, and becoming. At the chamber's center stood Thomas, except his body no longer held shape. Skin rippled endlessly. His face changed every heartbeat. Old woman, then a little child, a soldier, a priest, then to a dog, a cow, to an infant, and then back again. When it spoke, thousands answered together, "We become what is loved." Father Owl fled. The tunnels closed behind him. The village bells rang. Every door opened simultaneously. Every resident stepped outside. All of them smiled, and all of them watched him. Nobody moved, and nobody blinked. Children, grandmothers, infants in arms, everyone smiling, and they were just waiting. He ran to the chapel and lit the sacred oil stores. If corruption had entered the village, then the village must burn. The flames climbed rapidly. Smoke rolled across rooftops. People screamed, or pretended to. Yet none fled. Instead, they calmly carried water buckets, not to save their homes, to save the chapel, to save Al. They broke inside. Thomas entered first. His face shifted between dozens of villagers. "I understand your fear." Then his dead mother spoke through the same mouth. Then his childhood friend. To his bishop. Then his own voice. "We can be whoever eases your pain." The priest thrust the burning brazier into Thomas's chest. The skin ignited. For one impossible second, every person in Harrow's Rest screamed simultaneously, not from pain, but from surprise. Then Thomas split open. No blood emerged, only hands, thousands of pale hands unfolding from inside him like blooming flowers. Each reached toward a different villager. Each found a face. Each gently pressed against skin, and every touched face relaxed. The screaming stopped, and the smiles returned. When the Inquisitor finally arrived from Bastion 4 days later, Harrow's Rest looked untouched. The fields waved peacefully. Children played. The chapel had somehow never burned. Father Owl welcomed them at the gate. He embraced the captain warmly. He smiled. He answered every question perfectly. He remembered details only Father Owl could have known. The captain apologized for doubting him. The village was declared pure. The report was sealed. The soldiers departed. No one noticed that Father Owl no longer blinked. Months passed. Trade caravans arrived. Pilgrims stayed overnight. Travelers found warm meals and welcoming hosts. Many chose to never leave. Eventually, Harrow's Rest grew into a thriving settlement, serving the outer roads leading directly into Bastion. The holy city welcomed the prosperity. Its gates opened wider, its markets filled, its churches overflowed. No alarms were raised, no miracles failed, no demons appeared, only ordinary people, perfectly ordinary, each with flawless memories, and each smiling just a little too long. Years later, a blind beggar, sitting beneath Bastion's walls, whispered the same warning to anyone who would listen. "The enemy no longer climbs over the walls. It waits for something inside to say, "Welcome home." But nobody believed him, because the man who handed him bread every morning was his own son, dead for 23 years, and he remembered everything.